If you are a feminist, especially if you identify as a woman, you have probably encountered a term, objectification. And if you spend more than 5 minutes on my channel, you know that I talk about commodification all the time. So let's have a look at how these two phenomena may be similar. First of all, I want to establish that if you consider yourself to be a leftist, a communist, you are a feminist by default. And if you want to learn more about it, let me know, and I'm going to present you with some of the writings that Friedrich Engels did on feminism, and you can educate yourself about the problems of feminism and how they relate to communism. So, objectification. We hear about it a lot, and it used to be one of the buzzwords. I think now it kind of lost its appeal because many of the women have empowered themselves and started learning about how to defend themselves without the help of the corporations. So the incessant stream of purchases of feminist gear is stopping. I think most of you are familiar with the term objectification because it is very similar to commodification. It is when you perceive a person as a product. You perceive a person regarding what they can do or give for you instead of looking at them as an actual human being who can think for themselves, who can have desires, and who can express themselves in a way that you might not find appealing. So this is the major similarity between commodification and objectification. Objectification in feminism, however, is specifically focused on how women are portrayed in the media being books, magazines, any kind of online sources, movies, anything that can communicate in visual or written ways can be considered media. So the depiction of women in the media has changed over the years. Women used to be portrayed as subversive, as agreeable, and I touch upon this in one of my other videos, but I don't know which one's going to go out first, so I may link it below if it's available already. But the portrayal of women has changed pretty drastically in the last decade or so. Nowadays, we see the woman being portrayed as the lady boss, and the whole girl power phenomenon is now taking place. But what we can see is a woman is put in a little tiny box that is very neat, and a label is put on that box. So it's very easy to appropriate that label, put it on yourself, and feel like you are empowered. So this is the way media changes to accommodate newer needs. And if the portrayal of women now differs from the portrayal of women in the past, it does not mean that the objectification stopped. It just means it became more insidious. So let's talk more about self-objectification. If you objectify yourself, it may be harder to examine and analyze because it may happen unconsciously or subconsciously. So oftentimes we see women shaming each other as a way of self-objectification, but usually it is not the case. Well, first of all, if someone else tells you objectify yourself, it doesn't mean that you necessarily do that. But more importantly is that self-objectification is not done on the superficial level. So many women pay attention to the looks and the appearances, and they say, well, if you dress in a certain way or present yourself in a certain way, therefore you objectify yourself. And that is not true, because the way you express yourself obviously is going to be related to the modern status quo. However, it doesn't have to be a degrading act of self-objectification or self-commodification. So many women nowadays may feel like they have to dress and act in a certain way to prove to themselves and others that they are true feminists. Let me tell you this much: no matter how you express yourself, if you follow a certain set of principles that concern others, in a way that is respectful, then you are not going to participate in self-objectification. And it might sound kind of overly simplistic. Let me explain. If you do not share certain likes and preferences with other women, that doesn't mean that you or they are worse feminists. This is not a competition. And personal preferences have little to no bearing on the actual philosophical discourse and the actual advance of social well-being. We don't have to all like the same things. We don't all have to agree. What we have to do is establish our common goals and work together towards these common goals. How we're gonna look doing that really doesn't matter. If we can all dress in fluffy bird costumes and promote the revolution, so be it. And I can talk for hours and hours about the not like the other girls phenomena, because I used to be a victim of that too. But for now, I'm going to leave it at that. I definitely am going to make more videos concerning the feminist movement and our role as communists in this movement as well. And I do want to encourage you to think for yourselves and to look very carefully at what media pushes onto you.